live stream.
Oh, they're doing a live stream. Very
You know, so they just so
Now we're ready. Call the December 6th meeting of the Executive Committee to order. Mr. Burns, would you call the roll, please?
Larry Leverins.
Here.
Jackson Bogan. Gary Schroeder.
Here.
Jerry Reynolds.
Present.
Greg Jones.
Here.
Tom Murtaugh.
Present.
Kathy Parker.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from the November 1st, 2023 public hearing as submitted.
A second.
Any additions or corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. New business.
You ready for first case?
I am.
I move to hear and vote on resolution PD 23-07, 900 Place LLC.
A second.
Okay. All right, this plan development, relatively modest residential infill project was approved back in September by City Council. The site, as you can see here, is kind of split between two sites, a little under 3 acres in total between 3rd and 5th Streets in the kind of the southern part of the Romig neighborhood. Sold railroad right of way that's been kind of vacant for since that was taken out. The proposal is for up to 18 units that contain both single family detached and single family attached townhouses. Each unit has its own individual parking garages, and then on the eastern site near the townhouses, there's a small surface lot for visitor overflow type parking. Final detailed plans are just the construction plans at this stage. The developer, again, the approval was for a maximum of 18 units, so that does allow them to do less if they so choose. So with the construction plans, they can get their clearing, grading, infrastructure work started, and then start to decide on how many lots they're going to do with first phase, or they're going to do it all at once. But there's a little bit of flexibility with this one, so that's why the construction plans are kind of coming in first. So, but everything is good to go for that. There is no bonding required at this stage because there's no final plat being provided. So we are recommending approval of resolution PD 2307.
Thank you, Ryan. Is any member of the audience wishing to speak? Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on this petition? Any questions from the board? Hearing none.
Actually, I do.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, on C105, so I'm assuming that's the one on the west side of 4th Street, is it a walkway or a driveway that's on the south portion of the new development?
Trail.
It's a trail.
Yes.
Okay. So the front doors actually kind of face
Yep.
southeast.
Yeah, they would actually front the trail. So the
Okay.
front doors would walk out onto the pedestrian
Okay.
trail.
Okay.
And then their garages would be in the back. It sort of fits with the grade. As you can see, the contours, it's pretty
Okay.
steep. And that way the vehicles have access to the existing kind of alley network north of the site. So
And then the southernmost unit has, it does have a driveway. I see. I'm sorry.
yeah, that one is, onto the street. So,
Okay. Thank you.
sure.
Any other question? Hearing none, you have a yellow ballot.
Perhaps you could pass the yellow ballots down after you filled them out.
Perhaps we could.
Perhaps.
I'm not reaching over that desk. So,
You're missing one.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm still working.
take your time. We have a unanimous ballot for approval.
Thank you. We're going to public hearing. For those of you unfamiliar with our procedures, the commission would like you to know the following. When we hear a request to subdivide land, we're only concerned as to whether the actual drawing shows the division into lots meets the technical standards of our ordinance. The question of appropriateness has already been determined. Anyone wishing to make comments or provide us with information regarding any subdivision petitions, excuse me, will be given the opportunity to do so. We are a 7-member body and a majority of 7 is 4, regardless of how many commissioners are actually present. At least 4 votes in favor or 4 votes against are required for our action to be official. If fewer than 4 of us agree to either approve or disapprove an action, that case must be heard again next month. Our vote on a request to subdivide is final. When addressing the commission, please state your name and address for the record. Please limit your statements to no more than 5 minutes, and we ask that you not repeat what others before you have already said. Cell phones must be turned off while the meeting is in session. If you wish to make a call, please step out of the room before using your phone. All exhibits presented to the commission become the property of the commission.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application to be heard this evening and to become part of the evidence at such hearing, Unified Zoning Ordinance, the Unified Subdivision Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Plan Commission, the application, and all documents filed therewith, the staff report and recommendations on the application to be heard this evening, and responses from checkpoint agencies.
A second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I move to hear and vote on S 5163 Brooks Brothers minor subdivision, minor sketch.
Petitioner's property is located here west of the town of Romney. It's a 2.5 acre tract that has 2 houses on it currently. The houses have been there since before the adoption of our subdivision ordinance. As you can see by the zoning map, a lot of the property is in the floodplain that has been certified by their surveyor. And there is adequate land outside of the floodplain to meet our R1 zoning requirements. Or I guess R1, oh, I'm sorry, it's AW zoning requirements. Here's a look at the aerial photograph. And a closer look, you can see the Romney Cemetery, or those little dots to the further to the east. There is an access driveway that both houses use, but it's not been formalized. There's no recorded easement. So here's the sketch plan. And you can see we're creating a new access easement. That's just in case some future property owner removes their right to use that current driveway. They'll at least have something to use, if that makes sense. There are 4 conditions of approval, and we are recommending conditional primary approval.
Thank you, Kathy. Does the petitioner or their representative wish to make a presentation?
Hey, I'm Marcia Brooks, and you need my address and everything. I'm
Wow.
at 40 West, 1150 South in Romney, Indiana. We're simply wanting to divide the property in two with the existing two houses. So instead of one piece, it'll just be two pieces for two separate pieces. Anything else?
Thank you. Does any member of the audience wish to comment on the petition? Any questions from the commissioners? Anything? Okay. You have a white ballot.
Do I have everyone's ballot?
Yes.
There are 6 votes in favor.
Thank you. Approval of the December APC public hearing agenda.
I move that the following comprehensive plan resolutions be placed on the December 20th, 2023 Area Plan Commission public hearing agenda. That's resolution 2023-08 and resolution 2023-09.
I second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I move that the following rezone petitions be placed on the December 20th, 2023 Area Plan Commission public hearing agenda. Z 2907 Columbia Properties LLC, Stuart Binning 415 Columbia Street PD, CB to PDCC. Z 2915 Purdue Research Foundation R2 to OR. Z 2916 Tippecanoe School Corporation A to R1, and Z 2917 L&T Supply LLC GB to I3.
I second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I move that we approve the November 2023 budget report as submitted.
A second. Mr. Hiddle.
Thank you. The budget report is included in the back page of your packet. I don't have anything to add, but would be happy to answer any questions.
Anything? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any other business? Mr. Schroeder,
I move we adjourn.
we're adjourned.
Tell me at 5:44. Would you remind me at 5:44?
The room will fill up. I will guarantee.
I see by 6.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's 5:44.
Kathy told me we had to be out.
Are we ready?
To get ready for ECA.
Okay, are we ready to go?
I think so.
Okay. I will call the Area Plan Commission of Tippecanoe County Ordinance and Bylaw Committee to order for December 6th, 2023. And first on the agenda, we have approval of the minutes for the November 1st, 2023 meeting. Somebody would
I move we approve the minutes of the November 1st, 2023 meeting.
A second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any corrections or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Second, we have a townhouse zone amendment.
Ready?
Okay, Ryan, thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, we've made some changes. This was sort of at the request of Mr. Murtaugh regarding building into the townhouse ordinance the option or the availability of doing a front loaded unit. So that's what got us here. And after some feedback that we received, it became clear that, we wanted to try to simplify the zone as much as possible. And I say zone because it was 2 zones at one point, and we've actually consolidated it into a single zone, renaming it R1T. Again, what's before you in your packet is just the content of this proposed ordinance. And what would happen after we're done with ordinance committee is that it would be referred to the full APC in its full ordinance format. So that's sort of the stage that we're at. So the next stop on the train here would be APC. They would see this again, but the content will all be there. It'll just be in ordinance format. And at the same time, we would be removing the R1Z zone, which currently has not ever been used. And there's no property in the county zoned R1Z. And it appears to have had its day, and there really wasn't any interest in that particular tool. And so we feel that this is a good kind of tit for tat, take out something that no one's using and put in something that might be much more useful. And so the main changes, the original version of the townhouse zones essentially all was revolved around a rear loaded scenario where the driveways either come into to an alley or a private drive or what have you. So we already kind of had standards for the rear loaded units. So we had to kind of envision what a front loaded one would have. And we largely based it off the typical R1B setbacks so that you have a sufficient enough driveway length for a 2-car garage environment. So what we have is we have a single zone, and then depending on the parking options, whether it's a front or a rear loaded unit, then you would have that you would sort of follow those standards. All the development standards would be subject to variance. So if someone is developing a site and they're in a pickle because there's something wrong with the topography in a certain area, whatever their issue might be, they could seek variances for relief from any of these provisions. And then we've also, in terms of the urban sewered area maps, we still make reference to that here. And we decided to simplify things more because, again, we had the U District 1 and then we had the non-U District 1. We eliminated that. And essentially, if you're within the U District boundaries, you get to enjoy the parking minimum of 0. So this is essentially development incentive. It may work to a developer and in the market's interest to provide a unit that actually doesn't have required parking. They certainly can have parking. We're just saying that there is no requirement for it. And then that would just be in the urban sewered area. And in your packet, I included those maps out of the appendix of the ordinance. Fairly tightly focused, some of the most historic areas in our community. I'll just show these first 2 here from Lafayette and West Lafayette. So if you're rezoning a site to R1T, the developer essentially would have an option. Or do I want to actually provide a parking or not, and market those units accordingly? Or perhaps, every other unit has parking, or, however, the options are kind of limitless in that regard. So, so we sort of offer that in almost a bit of an experiment. This would be the first time we would have a kind of a 0 parking standard. But in this tight urban environment, it seems to make sense to possibly provide that option and let someone either strike a parking agreement either with the city or with a private property owner that has places to park if they really want it, or perhaps they just don't have a car and they don't really need a garage and they'd rather have more house than garage space. So or perhaps they want a little bit of both. Say they have a unit that has just a parking spot in the front. There's no garage, but there's a space with maybe a carport in the back and the front. Again, this is the restrictions have been loosened dramatically to allow for really any number of scenarios. Regarding the public alleys, so in the off-street parking loading requirements, we have a site Says where sites where public alleys are present or planned, say the city had a plan for making more alleys. Want to at least give the city the option to think about that, but where they're present, parking that's integrated into the unit's lot shall be located behind the primary use building and be in the rear, basically a rear loaded unit. So that's really at the discretion of the city. The city, they would grant the driveway access permits. So if it's in the city's interest to say, this really isn't necessary, we're fine with the front loaded option. That really is up to the city engineer at that point for what's best for vehicular access and so forth. So it's, but of course, in these areas with the alleys is also where we have the parking standard 0. So, so it's quite possible that there may be some units that just don't have parking, and that's marketable, and then people are going after such units. So, so those are really the changes in a nutshell. Be happy to answer any questions. But again, I do want to underline that all of these development standards would be subject to variance. And so, and then really everything else has kind of stayed the same. The building height is to essentially allow for a 3-story unit. But that's just the maximum height. They want to go to 2. Honestly, if they wanted to go to 1, they could. Kind of strange looking townhouse, but could happen. We do have an example of it in town. The Redwood Apartments project on Twickenham is essentially a single level townhouse style building. Even though there's no party walls between them, it's multifamily. I think it's sprinkled. So, but anyway, I've talked enough. Be happy to answer any questions. Take it away.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Any comments from the public on this R1T zone that we've kind of made some changes to? Everybody happy with it? Sounds good. Okay, questions or comments from the commission?
Is defined very well. It doesn't change.
Yeah, you see it on your screen.
Right.
Yes, it's a defined term in the zoning ordinance that is tied to these maps. So an urban sewered area is one of these spaces. And yes, we would have the ability to expand them. It would be a map amendment to the zoning ordinance in these pages of the appendix. So say Lafayette said, that's nice. We'd like to maybe push the boundary out a little bit. They could propose that. We take this amendment to this body and then amend the map. So.
But this isn't just showing sewered areas. This is like the pre-World War II housing, basically.
Yeah, I've always disagreed with the term. It's misleading. It really is a quasi-historic district boundary.
Yeah.
It's just that. It's pre-war development. That's really what it was intended. And even the definition kind of makes references to that. It's kind of just an unfortunate name because it's urban, it's sewered. What's the big, so that might be something we might clean up one day just to make things clearer for people.
And what was the intent of R1Z?
That's before my time. Kathy might remember.
Single family 0 lot line. So the houses would be built on the property line.
On one side.
On one side.
Wow.
Westport. It's a planned development, but I think that is similar. Yeah.
Right. And to my knowledge on the history that there were some planned developments that attempted this, and I guess they thought maybe this is the way the market's going. Let's have a by right zone that does it. So we made one and nobody used it. So.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, well, I think the next step is for us to get a motion to send this to the full commission with a hopefully a recommendation for approval. So I'd entertain that. I have a motion, just need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to send the residential townhouse zone to the full commission with affirmative recommendation. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I
Say opposed?
no, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you're just-
I was late in voting.
Seems like a habit here. Okay. So we have all those in favor and anybody opposed? No. Okay, that motion carries. And I'd say nice work on this, getting this tweaked to where hopefully it'll get used and not be a R1Z zone.
That's the hope.
Yeah, right. Good job. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank
Whoever
you.
Contributed to that. Next on the agenda, citizens' comments.
I have something if nobody
Yes.
else does.
Sure.
I'd like to ask if there's a way for the APC to be able to publicly pay for ads. And what I'm getting at is when there's a required workshop or an open house. And earlier in 2023, we had 3 public workshops that were held at Klondike School that met 3 different times that were the start of this Wabash Township Tippecanoe plan. Lots of people didn't know about it until it hit the media on TV. Then we had an open house, which was just last night, to go over this plan. And I specifically asked at the November area plan meeting if the media would be contacted. The response was yes, but I didn't ask the right question. The media is contacted, but it's up to them if they choose to do free advertising. So of course that did not occur. I mean, APC contacted it, but the media chose, not to do it. And so I'm curious. So where I'm going with this is we all received the flyers, I think around November 30th, which I immediately posted to my Facebook page because I had not heard of any media that was going on. I asked my daughter to repost on the 3rd of December. And we were also, it was suggested that it would be on the fire department's webpage, the trustees' webpage. None of that occurred. Upon speaking with the Wabash trustee last night, their webpage is under construction, so they wouldn't have posted it even if they could. And so here we are having an open event that's a public comment on over 53,000 acres in this county. And how are people to find out about it? I have a real concern with that.
I'd say good point. And as things have changed, and we used to have a media person at our meeting all the time, a long time ago. And there was an article in the paper of our ordinance committee meeting, plan commission, media was there every meeting, and that's kind of gone away. So that's a good point. And
we require people that are changing zoning to notify so many neighbors. And I'm saying for major events, not. But I'm concerned how we're getting public comment on this when.
I guess.
How do they know?
So I would propose that we just put this on the agenda for January and just discuss it and see if there's a way that we can come up, maybe put something in the budget. And I know.
January ordinance committee
Ordinance committee meeting, yeah,
Okay.
just ordinance committee meeting and
Okay.
bring that up and maybe have some thoughts between now and then of what we can do. I think Vicky makes a good point. Just take out an ad in the paper. If they're not going to cover it,
I'm thinking radio or TV, something that's more, I don't even know how many people read the Journal and Courier anymore. I hate to say that.
No, that's good.
But
point, too.
I don't know what a one-time radio ad is, or, maybe that's more cost effective than TV, but something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the media blasts I did, I didn't hear anything from either TV station or the JNC. Dave Bangert did get back to me. He apparently did post the event in advance for his readers. A lot of people read him, but not everybody. But he wasn't able to come. And then actually WBAA actually reached out and wanted to do an interview. But again, it was after the meeting. So, but we did do on our own social media. We did blast that as well several times. But yeah, I think it is a question of we either pay the expense of mailing every address, which is probably just impractical, or maybe set aside some money that's reasonable to possibly do some sort of advertisement.
I don't know what the answer is, but at least we'll talk about it, whether you we'll see one of you guys on TV 18, maybe at the news desk talking about that, how they have a special guest in. Ryan. Okay. So he's been nominated.
I'll have to get a new suit.
Okay. Maybe just the jacket.
Yeah, just a jacket. Yeah. Shorts, jacket. Yeah.
But I think you make a good point. It is a changing time where we used to get good media coverage. We had good participation from those who had input. Any other thoughts on that? Otherwise, we'll just put it on the agenda, see if we can do some brainstorming and come up with some ideas. Does that work for you, Vicky?
Sure.
Okay. Any other citizen comments? Hearing none, I think we're adjourned.
Wow. Didn't have a motion.
What do we do now?
Okay. All right.
They stopped it.
No. I'm all right. I'm okay. I know, I'm glad they're there. I don't.